sometimes when you have that, you can get underneath pad level and impact tackles with some power. I think he has the ability to do that. He's a very extremely powerful athlete.
Garrett Peterson's been asked to do some different things from his career. How do you think he's adjusted to that, and do you think that could be part of his skills along with, you mentioned, this pass rush?
Yeah, I mean, he's he's got the most times played probably right now of any outside linebacker. He's playing, obviously our outside linebacker in the field, and he's playing some other things in that the other package that we're running too, where he's a little bit off the ball. So I mean, in terms of like jobs, he has the biggest menu of jobs really of any player that we have. And there's some things that he's really, really good at, some skill sets that he carried over and I think has developed. And there's some things he can still kind of work through. But if we can, get him to be highly competent in all those different skill sets, then that allows us to have an impactful player on the field. It also allows us to not really have to substitute any type of personnel as we go from different situations. And so that's really the goal kind of for him and Caden Johnson too, to be honest with you, to work to try to have that multiplicity and develop a set of skills that can allow him to do a lot of different things.
When Nick Herbig was here, obviously he was so talented, it was hard to take him off the field.
Yeah.
It's going to be a different lineup here, but in your mind, what's realistic for how many outside linebackers you'd like to have? Would you prefer just 2 on the field, or is that not realistic?
I mean, I'm an advocate for my guys, and I love my guys. I'm not trying to disrespect other position groups, but I'm going to try to see how many. I mean, obviously in a couple of the packages, there's only going to be 2, just based on things. But there might be a chance that some other things are at least 2, and I don't know. Maybe we get beyond that. I don't know. It kind of depends on what ends up happening. So that's out of my control too. We got to take a look at the overall depth of what's going on at the safety position, the inside linebacker position, the defensive line position. There's just a lot of moving parts, and I think we're really trying to now not focus so much on the scheme, but trying to figure out the skill sets of those players. But no, at a minimum, there should be 2 outside linebackers on the field, and if I can get enough depth to rotate those guys, I'm all for that. It's a long season in the Big Ten West, and then also special teams have an impact on special teams too.
Speaking of special teams, we talked to Luke about that the other day. He said he doesn't really put in a lot of scheme except for maybe punt.
Right.
But do you have a better handle on your specialists, your kickers and punters? Now, even though I don't know if you guys have gotten outside at all.
Yeah, that's been the biggest challenge. You just hit on it. It's like just haven't been able to get outside, so it's just really almost been really difficult to try to. I mean, obviously punter is the one that is at the forefront of just trying to see who's potentially could be our punter, but we rely a lot on, we call the match, which is trying to match the hang time in the distance, and if we can get a 4.5 at a 45, that's kind of the standard we're looking for. We just haven't been able to really evaluate that a ton. I think Peter Snowden's done a great job at long snapper. I think there's been a lot of consistency with the times and the locations and those things. And then, there's going to be competition at kicker, but Vakos, the transfer from Ohio, is an All-American. You definitely tell the ball comes off his foot well inside. So we've done some extra point field goal work. Pretty easy right now. Nice controlled environment. There's not a lot of
no wind,
not a lot of variables. So I think the plan is right now to get out to Camp Randall on Saturday, and looks like the weather's going to be great here in Madison, and so continue to get out there and just do a better job of as we get down this. I guess it's practice 6, we're not in the home stretch, but the midway point as we finish out to try to do a better job of evaluating those guys.
Tressa mentioned that you guys want to just input your scheme the first kind of 4 or 5 practices. Just how have you guys liked the way that your room specifically has picked up what you want to do?
Well, I give my guys a ton of credit. There's been some similarities, but I would say there's as many similarities as more differences in terms of the scheme, but also, we're coaching some techniques different. That's natural. And I have a lot of respect for the previous coaching staff, but some of the ways in which we're taking on blocks and some of the ways we're doing things is a little bit different. And we feel like, heading in the door, we took a look at the outside linebacker room. There was some experience, but also some high character kids that were really, really intelligent. We feel like we could throw more on their plate and didn't have to dumb down our defense to accommodate a room that couldn't handle it. And that's not going to be the case with outside linebackers.
For someone like Spencer Lytle, who
Yeah.
I know he was listed as inside linebacker, is he now officially in your room, or is it because of the numbers?
It's because that was a depth deal, to some guys and trying to give Spencer opportunities. When you take a look at that in there with some of the deals, some of the depth that are coming back, Jordan and Lamont, some of those guys, it just was an opportunity to try to get him evaluated, and try to have a position. And he was originally recruited to Wisconsin, he tells me, as an outside linebacker. And so it was a pretty easy transition for him to come back home, quote unquote, and do some things. And so, we'll see. It just really depends on how things are going with depth. And, I think he is kind of an embodiment of some of the things that we want Wisconsin football to be, very unselfish. move and is learning a bunch of new skill sets in a position coach within the span of some extra meetings, and he's really picked it up. So I give him a lot of credit. I think he's like a lot of players here right now. They're trying to fight and scratch and claw and earn the opportunity to play, and he's taking advantage of some of those opportunities. Just wants to try to play.
Special teams, is Vito Calvaruso more being considered in the kickoff specialist role? And he came here to have an opportunity to kick, but obviously he had a lot of success at Arkansas.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think we're still open competition. Vacos has some of that experience. I talked about the extra point field goal, and so it's the same thing. I think we're going to try to figure out hang time. Like, there's 3 factors in kicking the ball, whether it's punt or kickoffs: hang time, distance, and location. Hang time, distance, location, and we're trying to go through that on the outside. We start kicking off too, and see who gives us the best opportunity. That clearly, the ideal thing is to try to have a punter, a long snapper, and a kicker. But have had opportunities at previous spots, and also I know talking to Coach Fickle, if we had one guy that was the extra point field goal guy, and another guy was a kickoff specialist, we would be open to that. Whatever gives us the best opportunity to great field position.
There was a guy in high school played his hand on the ground, defensive end. I was playing more space. How do you think he adjusts that? Like, does he look natural? Does he look like he's comfortable still doing that? Because that was part of his adjustment to getting on the field last year.
It was, and I think that part of it is because the previous scheme with the previous coaching staff, the outside linebackers did drop a lot. They weren't just always on line scrimmage, setting edges and rushing the pass. There's times they're on space. So I think he started to develop some of his skill set early with the previous coaching staff, and then we've kind of, in some of the packages, moving a little bit further back. I'm sure you guys are watching that through the windows, see that. And so he's playing a little bit further off in space. And so, consequently, he's growing accustomed to that. I'd say, he's obviously most comfortable when he's attached to a tackle or a tight end. That's home. But he's getting more and more comfortable. And again, we're trying to get that multiplicity that I referenced earlier. And if he can get good at some of those skills, him and Caden, that just gives us a little bit few more options as we head into the fall.
Just watching back, it feels like Daryl's been the leader. I was seeing talking to guys. To him. Just, I guess, has that been more the same from what we don't see?
Yeah, we have different types of leadership styles, in my room, and that's standard, I think, with teams. And so CJ he sets the example in regards to he's usually the first one doing all the drills. A lot of credit, because you could have a 6-year senior. It's kind of like, spring ball. Let's just full back, blah blah blah. But he's eating up the reps up until he's had injury on Tuesday, but up until that point he'll be back. But he was just front of line all the individual drills, eating up the reps, setting the standard, and just really buying into Luke Fickle and Mike Dressel and Matt Mitchell, and it just great jobs. But he was more of a non-vocal leadership style. Daryl Peterson has been the vocal leader. Just really trying to set the standard for our room in terms of the expectations. This is a room that has really high expectations and can impact the game, and so he's trying to verbalize that. So those are, right now, a couple of the top leaders. I think, the guy I mentioned too, Jeff Petrowski's done a really good job. He's been hurt. He's doing a great job coaching from the back. He's off to the side. He's always kind of coaching guys up. He is really on point with alignments and assignments, and he can see if a player makes a mistake. He's being a great teammate, pulling guys off to the side and really trying to help them out. So he's doing a little bit more one-on-one leading. I have sort of a vocal group leader, or a do by example group leader, and then a kind of a one-on-one guy. We have some pretty good synergy in that room with that.
With Jordan Meyer, what have you seen so far prior to the injury?
So tough, really tough, competitive, not afraid to put his hands on people, not afraid as an early enrollee to go against, because with some injuries, there's some times he was going against some returning tackles, didn't flinch, went right at him. So that's good, has some of those skills and abilities. So that's the intangibles are the things that are jumping out to me right now. He loves football. He's super competitive. Comes from a tough background. You coach him really hard. I coach him hard. He takes it. He loves hard coaching, and so those are a really good foundation. And then he's got good length. He's got good instincts. He's got a great arm length. He locks people out and creates that separation in the run game. And seen it pass pro, and plays with a lot of effort and energy. He's a high energy guy. He might be as one of the, just in terms of just the churn and the strain and the grind and the violence. He just has some of those innate abilities. So, he showed up. Coach Collins has already put some weight on him. I think through sleep, nutrition, hydration, great strength and conditioning program. I think he's getting up at almost, the high 220s, low 230s. And, that's pretty good for a kid that's an early enrollee, and we'll kind of see how this continues to progress.
Guys, we can take probably one more.
Okay. Yeah.
Players are out. You mentioned TJ, but is there anybody else who you feel like has benefited the most from getting sort of those added reps, just with some guys who have exemplified that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say again, like Jordan, you know, I don't know that you'd have an early enrollee freshman running with the twos, which you'd run a lot with the twos and sometimes taking some one reps. So, you know, some of those guys were back. That wouldn't necessarily have been the situation. Also want to point out Marty Stray. Marty's done a great job. He embodies everything that's awesome about Wisconsin football too. And he had a good practice yesterday. You know, he was coming off, he had the ACL and he had a fracture in his early on, and so you know he was limited early on, and we got from a yellow shirt to clearing in practice. He's continued to take more and more reps, and he's done a great job. And I think that if you find somebody in our program that loves Wisconsin more than Marty Stray, that'd be difficult for me to imagine. You know, that guy is absolutely lives and eats it. I'm glad he's got those opportunities. Cool, appreciate you guys.